unveiling the stories and people that make our town so unique. I'm your host, David Wohl, and I'm thrilled to bring you this new podcast that explores fascinating stories and experiences of local business owners and community leaders right here where we call home. Grayslake Rehabilitation Center is a community-based private practice physical therapy provider. Do you know they have 13 clinical providers with various levels of specialties, including orthopedics, sports, neurology, vestibular, geriatrics, pelvic floor, and aquatic? What? Did I just say they have a pool? Well, they do, and it's the largest indoor warm water pool in Lake County, featuring 2 underwater treadmills and swim currents. And recently added clinical treatment specialties, in layman's terms, Shockwave. They have both radial and focus units that are the newest tool in regenerative medicine, available to everyone. They pride themselves on the most current and up-to-date specialized care to keep you moving. If you're looking for physical therapy, make sure to see our friends at Grayslake Rehabilitation. 1 minute, your world is normal. The next, it's gone. A flood, a fire, a crime scene. Your home shattered. Your business shut down. Your life on pause. But in the darkest hour, when chaos knocks at your door, that's when Serve Pro of Northwest Lake County shows up. Not just a company, not just a cleanup crew, but neighbors, parents, coaches, locals who care. Drake and his team aren't just restoring properties. They're restoring peace, restoring dignity, restoring lives. So when your worst day arrives, call the oh no guy who becomes your thank God guy. Serve Pro of Northwest Lake County. Locally owned, nationally known, unshakably trusted. From devastation to restoration. Serve Pro, Northwest Lake County.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Discovering Grayslake. I am recording once again here from the Loop Marketing. My buddy Eli is kind enough to let me record here. Appreciate you, buddy. If you guys have any marketing needs, make sure to come over and see Eli. This is not the first time that I've had our guest on today. I'm with Mayor Elizabeth Davies. Elizabeth, how are you this morning?
I'm fabulous. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Oh my gosh, we're really going to be good friends. Well, we're good friends regardless, but now that you're the mayor.
Well, I enjoy sharing the scoop in Grayslake here at Discovering Grayslake podcast, right?
Well,
put a little plug for this. So
it's nice. You know what? I never want to do the show to just spread information. It was supposed to be fun stories that just turned in information. But I'm honored that now it's a source of information that people need to know.
Yeah.
So first of all, how has you've been the mayor for how long now?
Well, I was installed in April, so okay. So it's been a couple months in.
Yeah, at the time of this recording, we're recording this in August of 25. So we're going to dig in really good because when we first talked and I reached out to you, I said this should be called trash talk because I've been on the social media and there's a lot of talk about changing garbage service. So I think this is a good time to set the record straight. I know it's in the newsletter, but sometimes it's good to fill in the blanks with first of all, why? Why are we changing services?
Great question. Yeah. I think when we chatted before, I said, when I got to be mayor, when I got to be trustee, I never realized how much I would learn about garbage, roads, streets, all these fun things, but these really important things, right? So garbage pickup, water delivery, road resurfacing, policing, those are all really important things to people. So the village gets the chance to manage those things, right? And so some things we run in-house, and then some things are like a contract that we manage for town. And so it makes sense that a town has one specific waste hauler. The trucks are in and out on the same days. We're able to get better fees for people. We get to manage it at the village hall. People aren't trying to decide which carrier they want, like a cable carrier or something like that. So it's just one commercial waste hauler, one residential waste hauler, one commercial waste hauler in the village that we have. So we have one contract that we manage for the town, and we select that contract. And we've had waste management for about 40 years. So
40? 40,
yeah. So we've had them through all their subsidiary companies, and they have serviced us very well.
Looking for a car dealer that actually feels like your hometown? Welcome to City Chevrolet of Grayslake, where the vibe is friendly, the pressure is off, and you'll always be treated like family. Meet Anthony Scala. He's just not the owner. He's a guy that grew up in the car business, worked his way from porter to owner. Anthony believes in people first. That's why City Chevy sponsors your kids' teams, your town events. And matter of fact, this show, they give back every chance they get. Anthony thinks that the experience of buying a car should be fun. No pressure, just honest people who care. Whether you need a new Chevy, a quality used car, or just service you can trust, City Chevy is here for you. Come visit City Chevrolet of Grayslake right off of 120. And thank you for sponsoring our town, our stories, our voice. Let's get after it, Grayslake.
2 years ago, so when I was a trustee 2 years ago, we were starting to hear, and hearing as contracts were coming up, that the garbage prices were going through the roof. So there's 20 to 40% increases in our area due to inflation, due to other factors, and we heard that waste management was going up quite a bit. And so, I would be out and about. I think I was running for trustee and knocking on doors, and people were like, I'm just so glad that we have, the village that takes care of our contract, right? Because they were new friends in unincorporated areas, and they're like, oh, their garbage prices are going up like 20 to 40%.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, we try to manage that very carefully, but I did know that our contract was coming up soon. And in this inflationary cycle, we just really weren't sure what kind of numbers we were going to get back for the town. And, I don't know about you, but I hear from residents that, there's a lot of stress financially in our area. You hear about property taxes, but you've got ComEd increasing, you've got like insurance increasing. I mean, I feel like we're getting hit with one thing after another when it comes to inflation or just price increases, right? I mean, I think, we'll see how that continues to progress, and there's macro factors behind it, but just from like a kitchen table budgeting sense for our residents, like there's just a lot of stress there, right? So 2 years ago, when Waste Management redid their contract our contract was expiring, and they gave us a price, it was about 70% higher than what we were used to paying. So
wow.
Yeah, it was a 70% cost increase. So what we did is we used money we stuck with them for another year. And then we're going to go out for a competitive bid process, and we're going to try to get a better price for our residents. So in that year that there was that 70% increase, what we did is we used money from our general fund to kind of tamp everybody's bills down. So we used about $400,000 from different fund balances and those things to kind of have everybody's monthly bill be a little bit less, so that residents didn't have to incur a 70% increase, right?
Oh, wow.
Just to kind of, we felt like it would be something that we could smooth it over, okay? And, because we take what people pay very seriously. When we're up there making those decisions, it's really like something that we keep in mind.
Well, I appreciate you looking out for me.
Yeah. And it is one of those things where we really are managing the contract. Like, this isn't going into like the village, this is just it's called an enterprise fund. So garbage and water and sewer are both kind of whatever costs residents used are kind of passed on to residents. So we're kind of just the manager of the contract and the manager of that service, but we aren't the provider. So we're kind of like the connector. And so we establish and try to get the best rates we can for the residents and the best service, of course, that we can for residents.
Sure.
Because I know a lot of people I saw, they're like, well, if just because it's less doesn't mean you might be paying for less. Well, we don't believe that's the case. Groot who we ended up choosing Groot, is our commercial waste hauler. Many other people in the neighboring areas are using Groot. Like Libertyville uses Groot, Mundelein uses Groot, Round Lake uses Groot. They're an established quality service provider, and so it's equal service. All the things are equal. So anyway, after that first year of that kind of the continuing of that contract, with the kind of subsidizing from our village budget, which is not a practice we've done, but it was something that we felt we made that decision to go ahead and do. We got proposals from 3 different companies: LRS, Groot, and Waste Management. And really, all things being equal, we would have liked to have stayed with Waste Management. But the good news is in that year, so we had that 70% increase. In that year, we are actually able to get 3 pretty favorable bids. So even Waste Management came down a bit, for us. But Groot and LRS also came down pretty significantly, wanting our contract. So the numbers that they gave to us as a village were actually much less than they gave to some of the neighboring communities. So we won't want to tell those neighboring communities.
No, well, no one listens to this anyway, so they won't know.
This is just a Grayslake community.
Right.
But I think like the long-standing, it's just the reputation that Grayslake has in the municipal industry is that we're a taxing body. We're a village that people want to work with and work for. We run very much like a business. We have very professional staff that manage the contract, so people wanted our contract.
I bet.
So even in an inflationary cycle, we were able to get really favorable rates. Now, they are higher than what we used to pay, right? A little bit higher, right? So all of these things we're talking about are higher. But specifically, Groot came in about $9 to $10 less than Waste Management every month. And that is what residents will pay on their bill. So as opposed to paying, like $45 to Waste Management for a cart, we'll be paying, let me just make sure I get the right quote here. So $45, it'll be $36 a month. So that's on your bill, and that's your money that's being saved. It doesn't go into like the village's budget. That's like real dollars for residents.
Right. Which to one person, which is great because that obviously compiles over time for the year of what every household saves, right?
Yes.
And then you multiply that by, I think we were talking how many homes in Grayslake?
8,000.
8,000, yeah. So that's a lot of money.
It's $110 per household that'll be saved a year.
We're taking a quick break just to say hello because everybody knows Nano, and Nano knows real estate. And actually, I believe that's the name of her Instagram page. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or know somebody in the market for a home, contact Nano from Baird & Warner. She's a Grayslake girl helping out Grayslake people.
The Grayslake Chamber of Commerce isn't just networking, it's opportunity. Members get exposure through local events, online directories, and social media, plus access to exclusive resources that help businesses succeed. Make new connections, grow your brand, and be part of the events that bring our town together. Learn more and join today at grayslakechamber.com. The Grayslake Chamber of Commerce, the new wave of business.
This is Bob Churchill. I know you are always there for your family, caring for your children, your spouse, and even your parents. But in critical times, will you be able to make decisions that assure the best result for your family? A power of attorney may be necessary if on behalf of a loved one you need to talk to a doctor, a bank, or the college infirmary. A power of attorney may sound daunting, but the lawyers at Churchill, Quinn, Hamilton, and Van Doncelar can easily create this document for you. We are right here in Grayslake, supporting the community for over 122 years. Reach out to us at grayslakelaw.com or call us at 847-223-1500. Whether you need a power of attorney, a will, or legal help with your business, we'll take care of you so you can care for others. Go to grayslakelaw.com today for more information. Have a wonderful day, and now back to the program.
And so then you have the, 8,000 households. So it's a really big aggregate savings,
Yeah.
Almost $1 million for each resident that's saved. It's total for residents that will be saving for a year, and that's in their pockets. That's one thing I think that the village always does is we take care in these decisions because these are taxpayer dollars, right? Even in the village budget, it's still taxpayer dollars, and we look at it that way. But this literally is the taxpayers' money, that they're paying towards their garbage.
Because our bill goes straight to them. It doesn't go through the village to them. It goes straight to them.
There's a little bit of like an administrative piece that the village does, right?
I'm
but
sure it
no,
is.
yes, it's an enterprise fund, which means the cost of whatever garbage costs, that cost gets passed on to the residents. We are just the manager of the contract.
Gotcha.
And so that's it's an enterprise fund. It's run that way. It breaks even. So we that and the water, we use our rates to break even there. So.
Right. All right. So as I'm on social media going through, there's a lot of people that obviously everybody likes to talk about everything on social media, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but not all of it's positive.
Yeah, I see it from time to time. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do. I've learned that sometimes it's in the moment, and sometimes there's information that's out there, and that it oftentimes comes out of care. But you'd always like a little bit of margin for a little bit of room for grace. Hey, maybe there's more to this story than I thought.
Hence the reason that we're saying that today. So what is the biggest from the community? What do you think the big? I mean, I've read the stuff. But what is the biggest pushback? What are people worried about?
Well, I think that we will still have the same level of service, right? And so the bulk item pickup once a week. We actually have a more increased green package, which is our curbside composting. So the quality of the services that people have come to rely on, we believe will stay. Now, there's always a little bit of transitional hiccups, right? And that we expect that to happen as you change waste haulers, right? But this cost savings was significant enough for us to warrant the staff time of oversight, the staff time and change, right? Because there's all sorts of hidden costs with things. Right. But the bottom line is that it was just such a big difference between Waste Management and Groot. Groot is our commercial waste hauler, and so for all the businesses and stuff, they've been servicing them, and they've been doing a great job there. We know the contact and who to, if something goes wrong, so we feel pretty confident in that. I think Another thing that was surprising to me, but not that surprising, when I think about the people involved, is that people really like the garbage men.
Which is a compliment, and it's such a great thing,
Yeah.
right?
I think it's like our Mayberry, like the people in town just really are, they're kind, wonderful people, and really, we really love their garbage men. And I like my garbage man, so I get it.
I do too. And what's funny too, maybe it's just a compliment to our residents that they're really nice and the garbage men were nice to them.
Yes.
And the next guy or gal might be just as nice or nicer than the one before.
Yeah.
You never know.
Right. And, we don't have the contracts with individual garbage people, right? Or individual, like, the hauler, right? So we could have, the waste management could let your particular person go, or they could retire, right? And so we're not contracting with individual people, we're contracting with a company, right?
And even if we didn't change, they could be a different garbage person. They're coming to see that.
Yeah.
And I was surprised by it because I didn't know people had such personal connections with people that picked up the trash, which is a cool thing. It gives me faith in humanity in that way.
Well, I live in Harrion Farm in West Trail, and if you met our garbage guy, you would understand.
Yeah.
He's a really, I kind of get it.
We weren't trying to get rid of him.
No,
we're trying to save money across the board for everybody.
Right. Well, I think, you have to look at this. Like, we have a number of different things that people pay, right? So you've got, like, electricity, you've got, we do water, we do water, sewer, we've got garbage. Like, if we allowed, like, everything to get $100 higher a month for people.
Oh my gosh.
That really adds up. Little things, little decisions over time can really affect a big bottom line, right? And so one of the things I shared in my mayor's letter was that since 1992, per person operating expenses at the village adjusted for inflation, if we do inflation, we rose 40% less, about 40% less than the rate of inflation. So what you pay for all of your things, right? Goes up. But we've kept an eye on operating costs for people, and not just to save, not just to pinch pennies, but to give money back to residents, to do more things in town, right? It allows people to have more of their own money and for us to do more for residents, right? And that's why we do this. But it's, it's risen 40% less than the rate of inflation since 1992. So, that creates a lot of opportunity for us. And that doesn't happen by just passing on an extra $100 a year without real thought, right?
Sure.
So this is one of those types of decisions. And so I think people have come to kind of expect that from us.
Yeah. And I appreciate that because that's not the kind of stuff that really busy people pay attention to until the end of the year when you're doing budgets and seeing how much money you pay for stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the other things I heard, because I'm honestly too busy to read all the newsletters. I'm kind of embarrassed to even tell you that.
No.
But one of the other things I read is that, so we used to pay our garbage and water and everything through one bill. I've heard some people are upset that we'll be paying them directly. It'll be a separate bill, so it's one more bill to pay.
Yes.
Separately, right?
Yep. That is like a service that Groot particularly offers.
Okay.
And that allows to take out the middleman, right, in the paying piece of it. So, it'll be staff time not spent at the village, right? Ironing all that out between the two. And it's been something that people have enjoyed in other communities. So, the payment directly to them, right, just kind of cuts out the middleman. Instead of it paying us and us paying them, it goes directly to them. So if there's also any customer service things, there's not another cog in the loop or kink in the
all
chain.
the extra fees that everything go through.
Yeah, so we go directly to.
So I can take 5 minutes of my time and set up for auto pay when this happens, and then I never have to worry about it again.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It is a change and it is different, and so definitely understand. And we wouldn't enter into a change lightly. We would only do it if we felt that the service was going to be, kept and same. And everything that we have done. It was identical bids is what we put out for requests for proposals, I should say. Identical services were bid out. So leaf vacuuming, that was a big thing.
Oh, yes. I always forget about that, too.
Yeah.
So that's part of that service as well.
And that was something that we were really wanted to save. So some companies weren't doing leaf vacuuming anymore. It was like that year where we did that extended contract with Waste Management. We were finding people not even bidding leaf vacuuming. And we were like, oh, my goodness, what are we going to do?
Right.
We're a tree city. We have old trees in town. People, I think, have really come to rely on that service. And now that service is a messy service. That service service is, especially lately. Garbage just in general, right? We're talking trash here, but it can get a little, I guess I'm getting a little messy here.
Right, just a tad. Yeah, but I'm sure that's big because the leaf removal is a huge thing. In the neighborhood I'm in, we have so many leaves.
Yes, and residents don't want to have to necessarily bag them. So that is something that we worked really hard to maintain for residents.
Right.
And we're always happy to hear from residents on those things. So if you feel like that's a good decision or a bad decision, you can always let us know. But that was something that I felt like when asking people in town that they're like, oh my gosh, yeah. I talked to one of my friends and they're like, if you took away leaf vacuuming, I think I'd have to move. I'm like, well, I can't have that happen.
No, so we better figure that out fast.
But just in general, and I asked them, everybody has their process, but I always do try to ask people in town when I see them, when I know a decision is coming up, like, how would you feel about this? And so just to make sure I'm getting good inputs on that stuff. But so we wanted to maintain leaf vacuuming. People have really come to like our sustainability composting project, our plan, so you can have a separate cart that does just composting. And of course, we'll have our recycling. The interesting thing is Grayslake really has been a leader when it's come to waste in the area.
Really?
So we're one of the charter members of the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County. And so we've really spearheaded a lot of the green efforts in town. So we were the first community to do curbside recycling.
Really?
Yep. And then we were the second community to do curbside composting. So I think Highland Park beat us to it.
Wow.
Most people have no idea what to do with their aging loved one who needs help. Well, there is a solution. A company that provides care and assistance to make your loved one feel right at home. At Right at Home, their mission statement is to improve the quality of life for those they serve. They offer extensive services: personal and companion care, safety supervision and transportation, fall prevention, dressing and bathing assistance, medical reminders, meal prep, hospice support, ambulation support, stroke recovery, Parkinson's support. The list goes on and on and on. If you have an aging loved one that needs help, call Right at Home. Most people prefer to age in their home rather than moving to an assisted living or nursing home. Right at Home can make this happen. Contact Right at Home at rightathomenlc.com or give them a call, 847-984-0103. Now back to the show.
So Gilletta, and the thing I've learned about talking to you and other trustees and everybody that's came before you and through everything is we really are a town that's forward thinking, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we're maintaining all of those green services that people love. We have the curbside or the leaf raking, right? And so that curbside pickup for the leaf raking, which will be good. And then what we feel is a really solid contractor. So I talked to my friend in Mundelein. They have Groot, and I'm like, what happens if you're, who knows? But
right.
Like, do you have problems with your cans, then picking them up if they're filled? And like, no, we haven't had problems. So to us, like, we feel that this is as good as we could possibly get, while also saving each person $10 a month in their,
It just makes sense for that. Okay, so I have an elderly gentleman that lives across the street from me.
Yes.
And you know what his big concern was? Is garbage day going to change?
Excellent question. No.
Really? It's not going to change?
No. Yes, which I think will be a big help in the transition. We talked to some other communities, and they said that communities that had transitioned us to Groot or other places as well, and they said that was like the biggest piece. They did not do that. They changed the days, and so that on top of was a big, so we'll be keeping it's the same service. So as opposed to the can saying Waste Management, it'll say Groot, and then you'll send your bill to Groot as opposed to us. And we hope that the service, we believe the service will be, and hope the service is as good or better than what we're getting.
Yeah, I never thought that we'd be sitting here talking about this, but it also gives me a more appreciation for you and all the other trustees sitting down and talking about this stuff, because somebody has to do it. Somebody has to look out for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was one trustee and put it, said it really well. So I think, it was in the end, like what people were paying versus what we were going to pay now, it was like only like $1 more, and we're locking that in with constrained increases, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, this is a no-brainer, as opposed to paying $10 extra more for the same service. Right. So what you had been paying like last year, it's going to be an increase, but we really held that down, and so that's really, I think, one of the benefits to being in a municipality is that we're watching this contract, we're managing this contract, we're looking for a good opportunity to extend it, we're looking at good opportunities to control those prices, so we're really looking out for the residents. And so for me, that's something where when you're up there and like, okay, this is going to save each person. When I go knocking on doors and I talk to people, people talk about, oh my gosh, my property taxes are so high, right? Or this is, and I get it. I get it. And so we're always looking for opportunities where we can smartly save residents, And so I heard people when they're saying you can't just cut costs because we want to still keep the quality of services, but this is we feel like we can do that in this area.
Right.
We can keep your service levels and reduce what you would have paid, increase-wise if we had stuck with waste management,
right.
$9-10 a month.
Wow. Okay, so my responsibility as a homeowner through this transition, what do I have to do?
Well, if you look at the FAQs, like that will help. There'll be like the garbage can like switch out, right? And then like once the billing comes, you sign up for the auto pay if you want to do that, or you're sending your bill to them and not to the village. Right. So that'll be the main.
So there'll be one day we bring the garbage cans out and we get new ones, and pay a different service.
Yeah, and we're sure that your garbage, somebody will miss their garbage transfer, switch out, and we'll be able to work through that and get that set. So I think we actually switch companies in the middle of the week, so it's going to be extra tricky for staff too.
Yes.
To make sure everybody's aware. But we'll continue to do blasts and make sure we're over communicating and making sure residents know.
Right.
But I just think the philosophy of the change is something I just wanted to share. And social media has become a hard place for me, Facebook especially, a hard place for me to share information and to follow information.
Right.
Lately since I've been mayor, people will tag me on something, and then I think they expect that I will see that. For sure. Especially my parents when they're on Facebook, I think like they're like, oh, did you see this? I'm like, no, I didn't see that, because I'm on it as much as I can be, but,
You have other things to do.
Yeah. And, or, people will comment or reply to a comment or a thread, and it's hard to keep track of all the different
That would be a full-time job. That you'd have to sit in front of a computer all day long.
Yeah. So I appreciate being able to do this.
Yeah.
And just chat about it. And I'm have coffee or meet with people, and then email is a really good way to connect with me too. So Grayslake mayordavies@gmail.com is a great way to have me connect with you.
So if during this transition somebody has an issue or anything, they can contact the village or you directly to figure out what's going on. And people, you guys know me by now, do not go to take to Facebook and trash talk on there, because you know what, we're a great community. There's things that have been out there that obviously I take a huge amount of pride in our town, that it's almost embarrassing for me to read. So I'm just going to tell the listeners, and this has nothing to do with Beth sitting here, just stop it. It pisses me off every day to read stuff when good people are trying to do good things. We're trying to save money and keep the level of service up. Just make a phone call and get an educated answer from somebody that actually knows the answer. That's what I would suggest y'all do, because I think that's a good thing.
I think it's a passion like we talked about before, but I've come to realize that people usually, the more I get to know people, they usually have a reason for why they believe something or something's behind there too. So when I see comments, I always think about that too. But at the same time, it goes the other way, right? There's usually really thoughtful reasons, and people sometimes think that the elected people are out there, but in town, we're just your neighbors and you're friends, and we're happy to chat with you on a level, I have a coffee, I'll have a mayor's coffee coming up here, setting the date for September, October. And so if people want to ask questions about the garbage and all of those things, I'll be available to, I don't know if I should do it prior to the date or after.
Good question. Yeah, that might be a tough one.
Yeah, to pick up the stuff after or before, but we'll be communicating and blasting, and we're here as your neighbors to kind of help this transition out. And so it's a responsibility, obviously, when you're in those meetings, we have some of those meetings, and you're making these decisions, just deciding really which contract we're going to pick for our friends and neighbors, right?
Sure.
So there's a lot of weight to those decisions, and we do put a lot into them. And this was really a 2-year process of looking at it, and looking at the first one being, oh my gosh, this is going to be so high for our residents. This is just, we can't do this. And how do we smooth this over, right? We can use some of our fund balances. We don't have large fund balances, but we have, a little bit in each one, and you can compile them together to kind of smooth that out for residents for a bit. And but you can't do that forever. So it's just like a one-time deal. And then we were able to use that year to get a much more favorable position for our residents. So we feel really excited about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I forget who I was talking to. I'm like, the village has so much to deal with. I just said the garbage thing must have been a pretty big deal because they're dealing with a lot of other stuff to put that much attention and to make such a change to do it for all the reasons that you've stated. I mean, that makes sense to me. I understand why it's done.
Yeah, well, it's, messy work. And then again, there will be people that said, no, I would have rather just stayed, right? But you're making a decision for like the whole town, and our sense of what we were looking at here is that, and then this is, it's a 5-year contract. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't work out, we can always go somewhere else. And there is, like, if they were really bad, there's, kind of ways we can get out of it, right? So it's, none of these decisions that we make, few of these decisions we make up there at the Village Hall are permanent, right? So it is, just a contract in time, and we're going to give it a go, hopefully saving residents a good amount of money and having great service. So.
Yes. It's often said that those who fail to plan are planning to fail. Joe Velez and his team at JPV Financial create unique financial plans that address some of the most difficult challenges that people might face as they get older. No matter what stage of life you're in, having a proactive financial plan can help navigate some of the difficult decisions you'll face, helping you live your life by design, not default. Securities and investment advisory service offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc. Member FINRA SIPC.
All right. Anything else we want to mention about garbage? Because I have a couple side questions I want to answer too.
I don't know. I think, I got as messy as I need to for today.
Got your hands dirty.
But you might get more messy here with these questions.
Right,
I don't
know. No. The other thing I just want to say because another thing, as we look at social media and everything, okay, so I live out past like Atkinson Road. So I come in on Center Street, and when we started building the what people call the Gilmore Girls gazebo,
yes.
So there's been other talk about that. I personally think it's beautiful by what we call the
nature trail.
The nature trail. Yeah. I think it's a great. I heard somebody complain about something like, do you guys remember the old like aluminum building that was there forever that was like finally torn down? I think the way that space has been transformed really brings value. Why did you decide to build it? And as somebody else said, and why is it so big?
Well, the nature trail itself, I think, is just a really awesome addition to town.
Yeah.
That has a humongous ecological benefit and stormwater management benefit. So, that's where a lot of the stormwater from town goes through. So there's 2 of the 3 major storm pathways actually go through that area. And they all 3 connect over by CLC. So there's we have drones, and we've watched all the water through big rain events to try to make sure we're maximizing our stormwater capacity. And we really identified that location as something that we needed to make sure was functioning at completely the highest level, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a big floodplain, and so keeping the nature trail was just really exciting. And then to have then such a beautiful place for people to walk through, and and so it's also at the entryway to our town. And if you've noticed, we are trying really hard to kind of have a brand, a public space that really draws people into our town. When we improve the downtown, I feel like it's improving everybody's property values. It really is our shared space. Everybody gets to use it. So the gazebo was thought of as a shelter, kind of like an overlook, so people can look out into the nature trail and to enjoy it. And then the village center and some people in town there's some of the staff that works in town and programs said, we would really like to have it be larger so that we could do some events in there.
I love the first time I saw it. I just imagined somebody like a guitarist or somebody sitting there with a bunch of people, and it's also so close to the senior center that people walk over there. It's usable,
yes.
It's functional.
Yeah. So they did, so they could do some events. So there was a little bit of an oversizing piece to it, and also how it kind of fits in the grandscape of the setting. So that works really well. So I was over there for a District 46 engagement committee piece. It's the first time I've really walked over there with a group, and we had a chat underneath it, and it was just so lovely. It's just so peaceful, and it's just amazing. It's in our little town there.
That's great. Oh, and okay, so do other social questions for you. When are the cranes going to move out of there? What are they doing with the construction equipment?
Oh,
are they still doing work?
They're doing phase 3. So the last phase is what they're completing, and so that shall be done done this year. So the project actually has been delayed a bit. I don't know if I shared with you, but there was an endangered bat back there.
I've heard that. It just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Right?
So we had to like stop for like 6 months in its like active period and wait to do that particular part. So that slowed phase 2, and then now we're on phase 3, and that will be finished, and then that will all come out. And so I think by the fall here we'll be enjoying it fully.
I think that's great. I first saw it built, and I'm like, that would be a really cool place to stand. It's the first thing I thought seeing it up there.
I think it'll be nice for like prom pictures, family pictures.
And I imagine somebody is going to want to get married there. Or it's going to be like a focal point of. So we do have a lot of good places to take photos, but that would be a really cool area.
Yeah, nice to have in our town too.
Yeah, and since I think our first time that we got together to talk, I think the first time we spoke, we were talking about that nature trail actually being built.
Yeah.
And it's actually come through in the grand scheme of things, pretty quickly to make it all that way.
Yeah. One of the things at the village we do is we don't take on debt, so we pay for things out of pocket. And so, that in order to do that, we are a small town with a very small. Like, people don't realize it, but we do have very smart with our money, but we actually don't have like tons of revenue sources or like very high revenue sources. That can change, and we think that Central Range Development will help us with that. So that means that we have to be extra smart, and so we broke that project up into 3 parts, so we could pay with it with our funds as opposed to borrowing. So, some people will borrow like $8 million or so, for projects like ours wasn't that much, but they'll borrow the money and then you have to pay, all the interest on that, where we have the pay-as-you-go approach. So I always say we budget to spend 85% of our projected, of our operating expenses or projected operating expenses, or 85% of our economically sensitive revenue, right? And so we want to make sure that we can do our operating and all of those things. That's what we budget for. Then we have 15% of that left over, which is about $2 million a year to spend in town, right? And so that's the money we use to do things. And we don't want to be 100% leveraged out, right? So we use that to do things like the gazebo. We do that to do like those improvements to town that you kind of see. We do that for like certain curbing improvements or, all those things along those lines. And so deciding where that $2 million goes is a fun meeting, but also, kind of like, are we doing the right things for town? And so that's sort of where the money that we used in the garbage to kind of smooth that over comes from, right? Mm-hmm. And so we can have funds that we're able to help out our residents where we can.
Right. And speaking of smoothing things over, I'm really happy with the way the roads turned out. I think it turned out really nice. It's such a weird transition, but obviously form and function again, right? That it really is nice.
The downtown, yeah. Everybody loves the downtown. There's so much emotion to it. So taking out the Increte was
a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, change is hard, right? What we're seeing, but I think, when I look at that street, boy, I think it looks great. Like that clean center street, I think it looks awesome.
Wow. While we're here, is there anything else that you want to address or anything that people know? I know we have a couple other issues that are probably going to come up and we'll be sitting back here again.
Yeah.
But anything else that you want to address the town to?
Just so, appreciate people continuing to support our downtown. I think I'll pub that as much as I can. We have GrayslakeVillageCenter.com, which will tell you some of the events that are happening. We have the Chamber's 75th anniversary coming up. Summer Fest is coming up here this weekend, and just having people come to the downtown and to continue to support all of our restaurants and all of our businesses. That extra $10 that we're saving on garbage, maybe it's an extra lunch out, extra cup of coffee, whatever it is. Hopefully it comes back into whatever the economy space you want. But if you think about bringing it downtown, right? That's I think important to our town, and really its greatest strength is the residents are willing to support it. So our residents are awesome. They care about the business owners. They care about the people that service them. They're really kind, wonderful people, and just want to make sure that they know that we're servicing them. And if they have any questions, they can reach out to me.
Awesome. Well, once again, I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
And I'm sure we'll wind up back here. Good luck with a very smooth transition.
We can use it. I'm sure, always bumps in the roads and transitions. Yes. But we're here as representatives to, help. And then the staff is, managing that with the company. So,
awesome.
We are your neighbors. We're getting our garbage changed as well. And, we're here to help be conduits for issues. And that's always what we want to do. And we hope that this contract change is a good one.
Awesome. We'll keep up the great work. We all appreciate you.
You too, Dave. Thanks so much for the opportunity. We appreciate this is a lot more interesting than the newsletter.
Well, it's a lot more fun too, right? And I think that I'm such a much better verbal communicator than written, so sometimes people along my lines like to hear stuff, and I think hearing it from you is a really good thing. So
Anytime.
And speaking of that, Grayslake, thank you guys so much for listening. Wherever you're at, do me a favor and subscribe so that you never miss an episode every Tuesday. But here's the other thing that I could really use your help with. Tell a friend about the show. There's so much great information, and I learn something every single day. And the more in the community that I get to talk to people come and it's very strange, but people come up and thank me because they know more about our town because they listen. But with that being said, we're putting hard work into it. We have people that are volunteering their time to come in and speak with me. So tell a friend about it. Tell a neighbor and tell a neighbor about this if they have questions about the garbage. I think it's a good way for them to know. And as we always end, get out there and we never know what our neighbors or friends, anybody is going through, your garbage man, anybody's going through a hard time. So be kind, be nice. Maybe it's a smile, maybe it's holding the door for somebody. Just 1-2 different little random acts of kindness today make our town a better place, make the world a better place, and it's so easy to do and it's free. So kindness spreads like wildfire. So Grayslake, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in this town, and we'll see you all next Tuesday, everybody. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.